Good evening. Thank you very much for joining us on what I'm going to milk this for a while, our 25th anniversary of the VEF. We had it in the middle, so I got to milk it last time and this time, but 25 years worth of events, and couldn't do this without you as being terrific members and showing up, and our sponsors who have really done a terrific job of supporting us through the years. And please take careful note, memorize them, and give them lots of business. I'm partial to one of them up there myself. I'm Tim Swanson with Corporate Recruiters. So tonight we have a really special show. I can tell because we have a zero no-show rate, which means that everybody really wanted to come and show up. So this is a really exciting event. Again, this is Vancouver's premier networking forum for technology entrepreneurs, and we'd especially like to those of you who are new to the VEF tonight. We'd also like to give a special mention to the Vancouver Economic Commission, who has partners with us to help bring this event to you tonight. Special thanks to Brian Buggy and Sean Elby for pulling this event together for us. Brian will be moderating our lightning pitches and providing a little bit of an insight into what's going on in our performance clothing sector. Tonight's panel discussion is on the apparel industry, and we are thankful for John Catliff for moderating. As a matter of fact, I was a big fan of John Catliff. Well, I was growing up watching the Whitecaps and Team Canada, so it's a real kind of honor for me to see him up here. And I have a soccer ball in my car that I need you to sign. Before we start, I'd like to take a minute to thank our many sponsors who help the VEF our sponsors who support the VEF and really contribute a lot to keep these tickets affordable for all of our members and people that come. And I would also encourage you to buy a membership. It's a hell of a deal. A season's pass to all of our shows, and you get terrific content. If you are interested in helping out with a sponsorship, or becoming a member, please see Christine, our VEF manager, on the way out. One of our long-term sponsors who do a great job of serving our local technology community is PricewaterhouseCoopers. PwC's team of over 70 technology industry-focused audit, tax, consulting, and deal specialists in BC helps technology companies manage startup challenges, enhance revenues, manage costs, keep pace with regulatory changes, and attract and retain top talent, plus IT strategy, business transformation, mergers, acquisitions, and exits. If I can ask Faiz Karmali, who is on our operations committee, to stand up and be recognized. Faiz, please, thank you very much. Also, Ian Hine on our board of directors couldn't make it tonight, but those are two people that have been supporting us for a while, and I encourage you to connect with them and provide them with some good return for their investment with us. Another sponsor supporting the VEF, who's been with us for a long time, is Simon Fraser University, the Beatty School of Business. For over 40 years, the Beatty School of Business at Simon Fraser University has been designing and delivering business education to train future leaders. Leaders with a global focus, sensitive to the needs of the communities in which they operate, and equipped with the skills and the knowledge to create and manage innovative organizations. Operating across all 3 SFU campuses and serving 3,400 undergraduate students and more than 250 graduate students, the Beatty School of Business offers a highly competitive Bachelor of Business Administration program, 5 graduate-level part-time and full-time degrees. In addition, the Beatty School of Business works directly with leading companies in BC to deliver customized executive education for their management teams. The school enjoys joint accreditation from both the European Federation of Management Development, EQUIS, and the Association of the Advancement of Collegiate Schools of Business. Let me try that again. The Association for the Advancement of Collegiate Schools of Business, the AACSB, a combination carried by less than 1% of the business schools worldwide. The Beatty School of Business at SFU, working with the business community to grow and develop your talent. So that is really impressive. Equus, I thought, was a cool movie, too. If I can ask Dorothy Keenan and Anke Baker to stand and be recognized. Thank you very much. We'd also like to recognize Christine Solander, who is with our Ops Committee. We have representatives from more of our sponsors tonight, so please keep an eye out for the name tags and engage with them and have a chat. I'd like to now introduce Brian Buggy from the Vancouver Economic Development Forum to take over with the lightning pitch. Thank you.
Is someone doing the time?
You see the lights come up.
Okay. Just a show of hands. Who's ever heard of the Vancouver Economic Commission? Just show of hands. Yeah. So we have a branding problem. I opened up the Eco Fashion Week on Sunday. Same response, actually even less. So the Vancouver Economic Commission is actually an agency of the city. 14 people located in Gastown. We're dedicated to helping out with the local economy, especially around supporting our local businesses in terms of helping them grow right here in Vancouver, but also attracting businesses to Vancouver as well. Gregor Robertson, Mayor of Vancouver, sits on our board. He's the chairman, and Penny Ballum is also on the board of directors, our city manager, and of course we've got some key people from the business community as well. So really encourage you to learn more about what we do. I'm pretty sure that in most cases there's probably some program or something that we can do to help you with your business here in Vancouver. So I'm going to share some information about the apparel sector very quickly, but before we do that, I'm going to jump right into the lightning pitches. And we're going to start with Patti Leigh of the Science Fair Foundation. That's right.
Leigh?
Patti Leigh. My apologies.
No problem. Good evening. I'm Patti, and I have with me tonight Carly and Whitney, who are part of our team, and we're here tonight to tell you about the 14th annual PMC Science Fair Fun Run. This is the largest fundraising event for youth and for science fair activity around the province. And we foster an interest in students in science, technology, entrepreneurship, and innovation. And these are your future employees, and they are also the talent of the future. So we would like you to join and invite you to join us with the community to actually support these young people and these young innovators. And you can do that by registering for a team or as an individual for the PMC Science Fair Fun Run. The early bird deadline is next Tuesday, April the 30th. And as a registrant, you get a cool T-shirt, no pun intended. Would you like to stand, Whitney? A cool technical T-shirt, and free entry into TELUS World of Science on race day. If you have any questions or want any more information, we have some rack cards at the back of the, or outside, and we will be available to discuss and answer any questions you might have. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Patti. Record-breaking time. So next is Neil Stevenson-Moore of Stylepixi.
Good evening. My name is Neil Stevenson-Moore, the CEO of Stylepixi. Stylepixi is a mobile application that enhances the in-store shopping experience with benefits for both retailers and consumers. So what's the opportunity? Well, people are already using the smartphone when shopping, but without an effective app to enhance it. Our target market? Anyone who owns a smartphone. So is this achievable? Well, it turns out that 73% of consumers are already using their smartphones when shopping in store, and 98% of consumers say that they would if they could receive sale notifications. So what's our secret strategy? We provide sales notifications. But we also share the experience with friends and family and provide the opportunity for them to receive inspiration and support from stylists and receive personalized promotions and offers. So it's a free app, but how do we make our money? So retailers end up paying us for the data that comes along with it, so we can help them improve the customer service, support e-commerce, drive sales even after the users left the store, increase profit margins, and provide a better customer communication tool. So our recent milestones, and we've only just recently launched last week, so I'm very pleased to say that we're projecting 1,000% user base growth this month. And the thing I'm very proud of is my mother actually understands how to use it and quite likes it. Our next steps. We're just in the middle of beginning our A round of investment, and we're going to use the money to further develop our analytics and reporting so we can charge retailers even more money, and then improve the retailer integration software so that we actually have a wait list of retailers at the moment so that we can get them on more quickly. Please visit our website and download the free app and help out a Vancouver startup that's trying to get as much traction so we can rip money from VCs. Cheers, guys.
Thanks, Neil. Lisa Fraser, Snug Vest.
Hi everyone, my name is Lisa and I'm the founder of Snug Vest. We design, manufacture, and sell therapy garments that help to relieve anxiety, manage stress, and increase focus. So this is a little boy with autism, and he's squishing himself in the couch so he can calm down before bed. And his mother says that pressure onto his body is a necessity in the same sense that oxygen and water are needs. So our solution is a garment that provides a hug. It provides pressure that's evenly distributed. The user can control how much pressure is being applied. And also it's very stylish, so it's discreet and can be worn anywhere. Also, the Snug Vest is scientifically proven to reduce cortisol and adrenaline, which are indicators of stress. And right now we have customers that have also autism, sensory disorders, ADHD, anxiety, depression, post-traumatic stress disorders. We've won several international design awards for the Snug Vest. It's superior to lots of crazy other products out there for providing deep pressure therapy. We have a patent pending on our technology, and since we launched our product in January, we've been picked up by a lot of press. Also, we have a partnership with Autism Speaks, the largest autism organization in the world. And most beneficially, we have happy customers. So one parent said, I saw a significant decrease in my son's anxiety and self-destructive behaviors during as well as after wearing the Snug Vest. So right now we're seeking help and looking for experienced business partners, investors, as well as manufacturing partners. So we have a booth out in the back. Just come out and say hey if you would like more info. Thanks for your time.
Thanks, Lisa. And Wendy Van Riesen of Dahlia Drive.
Hi, my name is Wendy. I'm the designer and owner of Dahlia Drive, which is a business that's been operating for 7 years in North Vancouver. I take recycled materials and I make them into garments for women by recutting them, sewing them, dyeing them, and printing on them. They're all one of a kind. There are two different ways that I use this process. One of them is, like Madeline is wearing one today. I have a few pieces out front. One of them is to take found scarves or pieces and piece them all together so that they look great together. So there was a scarf on the top of that one, and then the sari material. So each one is one of a kind. These particular ones are made from curtain shears, and that's the second type that I do. I take curtain shears and I make them into a structure, and then I paint a painting onto paper, like this one. So here's the blank here. So this is made out of curtain shears as a blank. And then once I print that onto it, you have what I call my bubble dress. So each one is completely one of a kind. It's a one-off. And I'm looking for, I'd like to get some help, because I do this all by myself. So what I'd really like to do is do some more e-commerce. I sell mostly by myself, and I make garments for the art gallery. And I'd like financial help, and I'd like some mentorship in e-commerce to be able to sell one-of-a-kind clothing for women and and that's it. Thanks.
Thanks, Wendy. And thank you to all the panelists. Feel free to take your seats. That's great. You'll have another chance at the end, I believe, to be reintroduced to the audience. So the Vancouver Economic Commission, we're divided into three groups. We actually have a group of business development officers that are really assigned to day-to-day operations in terms of helping local businesses every day. We have communications function, so we're constantly promoting local businesses and companies in Vancouver and events that happen here as well, often targeted on specific industry sectors. And we have a research team. And the research team wrote a report last year. We did a survey, interviewed a bunch of companies, and we learned, much to our surprise, that all of these brands and many, many more, some 200 companies are located here in Vancouver, Metro Vancouver. And this is an industry that doesn't really have an organization, industry association. It seems somewhat fragmented, but we have a couple of really large companies. You can guess who those are. And then the rest of them are incredibly small. And so with that comes challenges, but we've really looked at it in terms of opportunities. So when we met with the team and we're developing our work plans for 2013, we put in, hopefully by September, we'd like to embark on developing an industry sector strategy to really understand how can the Vancouver Economic Commission support this industry to become a global cluster. So I'm hoping afterwards, for those that are interested and want to participate in that exercise come this fall, that you'll come and see me about that. Some of the things that we've identified just in this very short survey is that the innovation and design that's happening in production right now is actually leading edge right here in Vancouver. We've got students from Italy flying into Vancouver to learn about what's going on in this marketplace. We're also leaders in eco-fashion. In fact, Eco-Fashion Week is on right now. It's on twice a year and has been running for more than 3 years now, I believe, right in Robson Square. I think it's on for one more day. But that's a lot about low waste production, responsible procurement. We're starting to see a lot of that in our almost pervasive now in the industry. And of course, direct-to-consumer marketing and e-commerce. E-commerce apparently today only accounts for about 25% of sales in these Vancouver companies, this group of 200. And so there's tremendous upside, I think, in taking advantage of that. So the just opportunities for action, we're hoping that through this evening and other methods that we'll be able to attract some local leaders right here in this audience to help us this fall, come September or October, to develop a real economic action strategy to see how we can galvanize this industry, and in particular take a closer look at the performance apparel and technical apparel industry. As you can see up here, we've got some great brands, but we've also got some great educational institutions, training institutions that are outlined there along the bottom. And we think that there's potential to develop a global center of excellence for the performance apparel industry right here, something that could rival Portland and rival other centers. So we hope that we can continue this dialogue well beyond tonight, and maybe we'll have an opportunity to report same time next year to see what we've uncovered. So I'd like to introduce John Catliff. John Catliff's our moderator for tonight. And he'll introduce the panelists, and of course you'll have an opportunity to ask lots of questions of the panelists after the discussion. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Brian, and thanks to the Vancouver Economic Commission for setting this up. It's interesting that you work with Gregor in that aspect. I work with him on the soccer field. He's my left back on my team I play with, which is kind of cool. I was interested to find out about this panel, and more interested to be asked to moderate it. And why me? Because it kind of says that I'm a soccer player there, and I did play soccer professionally for some time. But I also worked in almost exclusively in apparel, and for someone who hates shopping for clothes and isn't particularly stylish, I don't know how I found myself in the apparel sector, but I worked in many capacities there. I worked for a number of years for Aritzia in fashion. I worked in team sports with a company called Umbro. I spent a long time in the outdoor industry running a company called Helly Hansen, and actually moved to Europe to do that as VP of global sales for them. And I also worked for a company called First Star, which has some interesting apparel technologies and is focused in the hockey area, and back to team sports. I also ran the online store for the Olympics, and that was about direct-to-market, quick-turn T-shirts on the apparel side more than anything else, actually selling pins and Quachi dolls. But I do have a lot of experience from different angles in the apparel, but I'm interested to hear our panelists and their answers, because I think I've stepped away from the apparel industry in large part. I now work for a distribution company specializing in getting e-commerce and e-fulfillment capabilities up and running for our 60 brands that we distribute in North America. So I'd like to introduce our panelists, and I'll let them introduce themselves. I'll just ask if they could come up. First is Carl. Carl's from Arc'teryx. And Dennis is from Indochino. And then Tom as well. So, Dennis, why don't you start? Tell us a little bit about your company and yourself.
Yeah, I'm a CTO with Indochino Apparel. We were founded in 2007, basically specialized in online men's custom clothing, so primarily suits and shirts. The company was actually started over in Shanghai. We've grown to about 100 people, and we're pretty evenly split between Vancouver and Shanghai. Shanghai is where we do our product design, our manufacturing, kind of the physical portion of the product. Over here in Vancouver is where we do software development, marketing, and kind of all of the business portions for Indochino. And myself, I basically oversee the team that does a lot of the software, the engineering that enables us to do custom at scale.
Great. Carl?
Okay, my name is Carl Moriarty. I'm the Senior Design Manager for Arc'teryx Equipment. My background is in industrial design, and I've been with Arc'teryx on and off over the last 12 years. For those of you who aren't familiar with Arc'teryx, we're a manufacturer of high-end technical apparel. We started out in the climbing and mountaineering industry, and these days I guess we're most recognized for our waterproof breathables, where we're a global leader. And we have a very diverse product range, which sort of ranges from technical mountaineering to resort skiing, and then from high-end men's fashion through to a lot of equipment for the military special forces around the world. We were established in 1989 in North Vancouver, and today we employ about 530 people in Vancouver, with 210 being in our head office. We still have a factory here in Burnaby, which employs about 230 sewers at the moment. And then we have a warehousing facility out on Lougheed Highway. Yeah, and we're fairly evenly split in our global distribution. About 20% of our sales coming in Asia, and then 30% in Europe, and then 50% here in North America. So, yeah.
Thanks, Carl. I remember when Arc'teryx came onto the scene. I was running Helly Hansen at the time in Canada. And Arc'teryx, for those of you who don't know, introduced the waterproof breathable zipper, the waterproof zipper to the industry, and actually delayed their launch for a year to get it right. I don't know if you were with the company at that time, but that was a godsend for all the rest of us, because they rapidly grew and sort of took the industry by storm. Tom, could you introduce yourself?
Yeah, my name is Tom Waller. I'm from a company called Lululemon. Does anyone not know who Lululemon is? You raise your hand? No, okay, so I don't need to describe the company maybe. I look after a team called Whitespace, which is the innovation team within Lululemon. It's only recently established. It's a company built on innovation. If you think 15 years ago when Chip Wilson sort of conceived this idea of bringing technical apparel to the world of yoga, and then overlaying a vertical retail model on top of that, we really shifted the game. We really changed the way that people were consuming products in that way. Our job is to go and do that again. So we've been given the task of getting ourselves out to, say, 10 years' time, and then working our way back and looking to disrupt the industry and shift the way that the world, again, consumes technical apparel or whatever it is that we might decide to start selling. That's probably my favorite alternative.
Thank you, Tom. if you ask Brian Hill, who's the CEO of Aritzia, he would say Chip ripped off his TNA yoga pant to start Lululemon's trend down the right way. I was working at Aritzia at the time. And an interesting story, I knew Chip and his partner, Scott Sibley, from West Beach. They founded West Beach together, two guys from Calgary. And at one point, I think it was 1992, Chip offered Scott 20% of his company for 70 grand. And Scott went, you know what, Chip, we did West Beach. It didn't really work out in the end. We sold it to Morrow. We didn't make much money. I don't think so. I'm selling real estate here in North Van. Everything's good. And you can bet that he's kicking himself right now. Couple questions we'll run through for the panel. Certainly there's significant trends with each of your company, one perhaps from a feminine aspect, although rapidly growing its men's business, I know, and I actually have a pair of Lululemon yoga pants, or not yoga pants, sweatpants that are great. Certainly Arc'teryx is sort of the pinnacle of tech. And I would say that is their rightful place in the market with what they've done, and Dennis is running a new sort of technological play, really bringing technology to what was a traditional business and just enabling it and enabling customization on a mass scale. So, Dennis, significant trends in the industry for your company. What would you identify as some of those? I
mean, I think for us, and it's kind of what we've founded the company on, is really this trend of custom, that there is now a greater demand from consumers to customize their clothing, to have more control, to really personalize what they're wearing, both for better fit, but also to kind of differentiate themselves in what they're wearing. And that's really, that was the basis of the company, and it's something that we've continued to build upon, both technically and then also as far as our product goes. We're continuously looking for new customizations, things that's going to resonate with our customers.
Tom?
It's similar, I suppose, and we know that the guest is becoming much more knowledgeable. Technology is becoming more accessible, and so for us it's trying to connect those dots, trying to find ways where we can become more useful. And what we see around the corner is a world where we are in much more co-creation with our guest.
Interesting. Carl? I saved you for last because you're the real tech guy.
I got given a list today by the boss of things that I can and can't say in the public realm. But I think a couple of things for us. One is that people have a more limited time now to recreate, and so what we're seeing is a lot more focus on urban training for mountain activities. And so that's is a big area of focus for us. And then beyond that, we see a rapidly growing market for us in the domestic markets in China and Russia, and so that's a big trend. And then sort of on the local manufacturing scene, we're looking at implementing lean manufacturing or just-in-time delivery for our local factory that we can keep that profitable and keep that running here in Vancouver. We see many competitive advantages for us in our global business by keeping that facility operational.
So you're not going to give us any big secrets?
No. Tom's here.
I was looking just on the internet about technologies and apparel and was sidetracked by that ultimate of technological apparel, the invisibility cloak. And I urge you all to Google it and look at the YouTube, because they have actually created these invisibility cloaks, and they're quite astonishing. They're using them to great effect for armored vehicles, actually. How are you driving innovation in product design and development? Carl?
I guess for us, a couple of things. One, we're really focused on keeping our full product development capabilities in Vancouver. So we have our full development team here. We have a sample floor at our head office where we can actually build everything that we have in production. So we're able to run through the full process. And I guess our belief is that by working with the materials and the machinery that we have today is the best way to imagine what we might need in the future. I think the other thing is to make sure that the people we have working in product development are passionate participants in the community and the activities that we service. And then also building strong partnerships with our major suppliers. So a lot of our raw materials coming out of Japan and out of large technology companies like WL Gore. And so making sure that we foster really strong development partnerships with them so that we get to, one, have a working relationship so that we can realize our ideas with their capability, and two, that they look to us as a partner to develop new technologies and take them to market when they're working on things that we haven't imagined are possible. So,
great.
Probably.
Tom, how's Lululemon driving innovation and R&D?
I think innovation is the lifeblood of Lululemon. Actually, it's more about containing it in many respects. We invest heavily in wisdom. So it's trying to understand what knowledge we need to pile up and then making it useful. We have very different relationships with our guests, I think, than many companies are able to achieve. We own every transaction, every conversation that happens in the store is an opportunity for us to receive direct feedback on the products that we create. So we really make the most of that. We capture it. We put it into a huge, great big folder, and then we read every single word. And I'm not joking. That's exactly what we do. We're trying to find ways to make that a bit more efficient. But we're investing in technology. We're also working heavily with our supply chain, but we're challenging our supply chain. We want them to work differently. It's a bit frustrating to us, from an innovation team point of view, that we're still working with technologies that are 50, 60, 80 years old. In the case of, say lingerie, where Mr. Burley came up with the first sizing system for a bra in I think 1922. We think it's time to move on, and we're coming across those sorts of things more and more often. And we know that it's going to take a different way of working, and we live in possibility, so that's what we're going after.
Great. And Dennis, your company is more about technology and the delivery and the IT behind apparel. Tell us how you're driving that innovation, and how is the marriage between the actual fabrics and the clothes and the technology that goes into your business model?
Sure. I think, part of the advantage of kind of being a smaller company and actually also being a custom company where we generally do one-offs rather than large production runs, we're able to experiment with new ideas. So we've done things like smart pockets. We'll throw them up on the site kind of as a customization feature. And we're able to test whether that's something that our customer wants. We have a hypothesis that it does seem like that would be a good idea. We don't have to necessarily create 1,000 or 10,000 units with a smart pocket. We're able to offer that as a customization feature. And in that case, smart pockets really resonated with our customer. It's a way that they can work with their iPhone while they're wearing their suits. So we do things like that, and that's really been a way to kind of discover and innovate on classic suit technology, product technology. We've also experimented with fabrics as well, nanotech, which is kind of a bit of a fancy word, but it's basically a water-resistant suit that we have. Those kinds of things, we don't roll them out across our entire product line, but we offer them more as part of a collection, and depending on how well that collection does, we're able to quickly roll it out across the rest of our product line if there's demand for it.
Great. Brian mentioned that we're a cluster of companies that aren't really cohesive here. And I remember in my day, I used to drive my Honda Civic with bolts of cloth down to 7th Avenue Sparkle Sportswear and get soccer jerseys made, and then drive them back through the Massey Tunnel out to White Rock, where we were based. That largely went away about 10 years ago, all the local manufacturing. It just wasn't an economic model that made sense. What do you see as the future? You've touched on it, a few of you a bit. What do you see as the future of local manufacturing in the apparel industry here in Vancouver? Tom?
I think there's a few different ways of achieving it, actually. There's, we quite like the microbrewery model, where if you think about, we have a lab on the corner of Broadway and Canby, which is a facility where we design, retail, and manufacture all in the same space, and all of the manufacturing service is just that store. So a little bit like walking into Starbucks. It's sort of its own ecosystem, and we're interested in that model and how that model could roll out to different markets and start to influence part of the main Lululemon range. There are other ways as well. You know, there are certain products where it does become cost effective to keep it local, and we're actively looking at ways of setting that up so that we can service certain part of our range within manufacturing here in BC.
Thanks, Carl. How about local manufacturing?
So local manufacturing for us, it's complicated, I guess, but we still run our factory, 230 sewers right now. We're sort of duking it out with Canada Goose for who actually has the largest apparel factory left in Canada. We just recently finished an assessment of the viability of that factory going forward, and sort of assessing the financial health of it and what we wanted to do into the future. And I think in doing that, we've realized that there are a number of competitive advantages for us in terms of keeping that factory operating. Some of the key ones there are just proximity to market and turn time. So it allows us to have incredible flexibility in terms of what we manufacture, when we manufacture it, and how many units we manufacture. It also gives us access to some special buying groups, especially the U.S. military, which has many clauses around Buy USA, Buy North America, and so forth. So, and those contracts also tend to be very rapid turnaround. So there's that aspect to it. And it also allows us to test drive new proprietary manufacturing processes. So as we come up with new ways of putting garments together and developing new machinery, we actually get to watch that go into production and get a very immediate feedback loop on how it's working. And that allows us to sort of get direction on how we want to ramp it up. And it also allows us to hold on to proprietary technologies and manufacturing processes. And I think that's been really important in the evolution of the company, because we could, where we couldn't actually protect the intellectual property through patent law, we could protect it by just having our own closed facility. And that really gave us probably a 10-year head start on many of our competitors as we tried to bring these new technologies to bear. So as we go forward, we're committed to keeping our factory running. Part of that is to now sort of assess how do we maximize the benefits of having that factory here. So one of the things we're doing is working on a lean manufacturing system, which really is sort of, I guess, a way of re-establishing the workflow within the factory to try and reduce our turn time. I think at the moment we're at about 45 days from when work orders hit the floor to when the product comes out. And the goal is to get that down to 10 days so that we can really maximize that flexibility and proximity to the markets that we need to service. And yeah, some of the big challenges going forward, though, probably is finding skilled labor. And there's definitely a shortage now of people who have sewing skills or are prepared to work in a production facility doing that kind of activity. It's one of the things that actually led to the company's success in the early days, because as we tried to establish ourselves in soft goods manufacturing, and particularly in apparel in the early 90s, there was actually an abundance of new immigrants who came with a very high skill level, and that actually allowed us to create a world-class facility. But each year now, the average sewing age on our floor gets older, and I think we're at 47 or 48 years old will be the average sewing age this year. And we see that as one of the real limiting factors as we go forward. So.
Are there any other components of a successful, thriving industry that we need here in Vancouver? Any panelists? What do you struggle to do, and what do you find is lacking here? Do we have, certainly we have the new apparel, fashion and apparel institution at Kwantlen, which should produce growing numbers of people for the trade. Are there anything else? Is there anything else that you can think of?
I think for us, one of the things we've been really pushing with Kwantlen is the industry or the education system turns out a lot of designers, but they don't necessarily turn out a lot of technical support. And you know, for every designer that we probably have 8 or 9 people working in the technical development of the product that needs to go to market. And so I think
aren't they just the ones who wanted to be the designer? But
and a lot of them, you know, a lot of them go into school wanting to be designers, and some of them realize through the process that they're more passionate about some of the technical parts of the process, or that they find that the creative process is actually really stressful for them and not as rewarding as they thought it would be, or that they just have a better affinity or maybe passion for some of the other parts. But a lot of others come out with the desire to be a designer and end up with broken dreams and doing other things. And so one of the challenges, I think, for Kwantlen is to try and encourage the development of technical skills, not just design. And I guess the challenge that's been thrown back to us with the advisory panel to Kwantlen is that as an industry, we need to make these technical services a viable career path for people, and actually promote the fact that you can actually make a living as a pattern maker, or as a product developer, or as a grader, or as you know, a colorist, and that these career paths exist, and try and promote that earlier on so that people can be thinking about that as they go through school and actually develop deeper understandings of different areas of interest, rather than being solely focused on coming out, being a designer, moving to New York. And so, yeah.
Dennis, what about you? You manufacture in the Orient.
Yes.
Do you ever see a time when it would be warranted that you would set up production here?
I mean, we're definitely not at that point yet, but I mean, we see a lot of advantages, a lot of what Carl mentioned and Tom as well. I mean, definitely the delivery times for us, we're an online shop, the ability to get to our customers faster would be a great reason to bring manufacturing back onshore. And also, you know, being able to develop technology close by, being able to get a quick feedback loop on technology and being embedded with the manufacturing. There's a lot of advantages that we see in that.
You mentioned the time to market and the direct-to-consumer model. I know that you're transactional online at Lululemon, and I think Arc'teryx is as well. Used to be a day in the apparel industry where you couldn't, or you integrated it with retail. Now there's virtual fitting rooms and things like that. Apparel is one of the largest categories of e-commerce behind things like travel and books. Tom, what do you see as the evolution of e-commerce, and what do you see as trends in that space?
I guess primarily is not talking at it as if it's a separate thing. I think for us, one of the things that we talk about a lot is one guest experience. And so the challenge is really about how do we have a direct-to-guest relationship that is consistent across all channels. We know that it's growing, of course, and it's a growing part of our business and it's a good place to have growth within our business, because, you know, there's lower overheads, so it's valuable. Primarily, though, you know, we are a brand that prides ourselves in education and being able to offer product next to that education and aligning that around people's, you know, individual people's vision and goals. And we want to find a way to bring those things together. You know, virtual fitting rooms and that, you know, they do come up a lot in discussion, and how we can start to integrate those, but there probably is another enabling technology sitting there waiting to be found, waiting to be created to truly integrate, I guess, a physical and a digital experience.
Yeah, I guess Lulu doesn't share the issues that a lot of retailers do, in that they become showrooms, and the whole omni-channel strategy that one needs to develop to actually maintain market share in today's economy, given what's happening online and cross-channel shopping. How about for Arc'teryx? Carl?
Well, online's been a bit of a challenge for us in terms of the fact that we have a very strong wholesale business. We've grown our entire business on wholesale, and so it's been very delicate to how we introduce direct to consumer sales, and how do we do that in a way which doesn't upset our wholesale business, because we don't foresee in the near future that online direct sales are going to dominate our distribution. So that's been delicate, but I think similar to what Tom was talking about is the big thing for us online is education, and how do we get the consumer into the right product. So first, how do we boost consumer engagement and get them interested in finding out more about the product, and then how do we use those online resources to get people into the right product, so that when they're whether they're buying at retail or whether they're buying from us online direct, how do we actually engage with them, educate them, and make sure that we have the right people and the right product.
Great. Well, I hope that was informative. Does anyone have any questions for our panelists at all today? Don't be shy. Yes.
I'm curious, I know Indochino, your manufacturer is sort of like 4 to 6 weeks, but for the other two, once a design is sort of decided upon, how long does it actually take to get that product to retail?
We were just discussing this actually, because we all have very different business models. I guess I'm envious of Lululemon because they're direct to retail,
Yes.
and so I just came today from a 9-hour pitch for our Spring 15 collection. So to give you an idea, I guess Spring 13 is just hitting stores about now. In 2 weeks' time, we'll be having our Spring 14 sales meeting, after which all of our sales reps will go on the market out to do their sales rounds for product which we will deliver in March next year. So you're looking at about a 9-month ramp-up time from taking orders through to delivery, but about an 18-month product cycle from the start of the design process through to product hitting the stores. And what we see is the timeline getting more and more compressed with our larger customers wanting to place orders earlier and earlier and earlier. And so for us, that's just backing up the design process. And so we're in a situation where we're designing product for Spring 15 without having really seen the sell-through rates of the product that's hitting the market for Spring 13. So it's a big challenge in the industry right now, and I think there's a lot of smart people thinking about how we might short-circuit that, but to date we haven't really found the answer.
And certainly that's for technical apparel.
Yeah.
You can shorten that for non-technical apparel, but
To that.
We have plenty of technical apparel.
I didn't mean to imply otherwise.
Yeah, we did. We sort of had a quick exchange of situations earlier. But our end-to-end, our process is 9 months. So we operate 4 seasons a year. Each season takes us 9 months from the beginning, from what we call strategic intent to delivery in the stores. We refresh product color. I think someone can correct me, every 2 weeks. And certainly every month we have a full flow every month of newness going through the stores. So it's a constantly moving machine, but the total season is designed in 9 months, or created end to end in 9 months.
And Dennis, is it accurate, 4 to 6 weeks for your?
I mean, well, so actually our design process, I would say, is more about 2 months. And, so we launch collections roughly every 2 to 3 months. But we're pretty nimble there, and to be on trend, not ahead of trend. And really, we're able to basically roll out new collections very quickly. The actual manufacturing component, because we do one-offs, that takes 3 to 4 weeks. So from when a customer places an order, because it is custom, to actually produce that takes 3 to 4 weeks. But that'll be based on a collection.
Great. Any other questions? Yes.
A couple, if you don't mind. I have a couple, if you don't mind. One is just comments in terms of the virtual fitting room and the state of the nation on that right now. And the other one is, how do you protect your intellectual property when you're doing foreign manufacturing? Just get some feedback, that'd be great.
I'd be
Tom?
happy.
I'll let you take into the fitting.
Sure. So on the virtual fitting room, I think that can kind of mean a lot of things. There's the augmented reality portion of that, which we've experimented with that. I haven't really found anything that I think really suits the customer experience that we're striving for. But where we do see a lot of progress is just the algorithms around actually doing predictive measurement. So again, in our case, it's custom, and we're trying to get the right fit for every individual customer. And we've invested heavily in actually creating some patents around being able to predict what our customers' measurements will be based on things like height and weight, and some very simple to take measurements, and then kind of extrapolating the rest. So that for us is more like the virtual fitting room, and that's also IP that's protectable and not something that can easily be reproduced overseas. The other piece that we do, as far as our pattern creation goes, we hold the actual patterns quite closely, so we don't share the patterns with our manufacturers in the sense that we don't roll out all of the digital pieces for our customers. That's considered our IP on an individual basis.
Great. And there's also other concepts around digital fitting that ask you simple questions, not what your size is, because a lot of people don't know their size, or in my case, it varies. But they're around asking me what shirt is most comfortable, what brand of these 5 brands of shirts are most comfortable, a series of questions that I can answer easily, that then can narrow down by comparing and knowing what those size specifications are. Tom, why don't you take a crack at the IP protection piece?
Yeah, I could take a crack at virtual fitting rooms as well, if you like.
Good.
So in a former life, I used to work for Speedo. We spent millions of dollars trying to work out how to predict how a garment would shape the body, and we didn't solve it. And so I think one of the things that virtual fitting rooms don't do is pull out the relationship between true fit on a body. So we can extract sizes and we can extract forms from a virtual fitting room, but we can't predict how it's going to feel on the body, because we can't predict how it's going to shape and trigger the senses that the body has. And so it's a very, very challenging space to get into, and comfort is so individual that it's almost impossible to predict. We can do it in quite broad bandwidth, but it's very, very challenging to get that absolutely nailed. And I know when you start looking at custom products, often when you start to get those custom products, as Dennis mentioned, you get closer to the body, and that starts to interfere with what your standard paradigm of function might be. Question number 2. IP, the easiest thing to do is just to not tell anyone. But obviously when you're working with your vendor partners, that's a challenge, because you need to get them to convert it into something. But we very much work on a partnership model. So we recognize that we can't do what we need to do without them, and they can't do what they need to do without us. So we come to a very clear agreement, and we work very, very closely together, acknowledging the value that we both put in, and therefore the value that we both need to take out. we create patents. We have several within the business, and we're looking at a strategy of many, many more. But we definitely don't do it as a protectionist strategy. We're not really interested in building walls around what we do. We're a pretty transparent organization. If people really want to copy us, and they do, then sometimes we will go after them, sometimes we will be flattered. Ultimately, we want to bring value to the business, so if we're going to create a piece of IP internally within my team, then what we're doing is looking to enhance the industry. So if we can create a new material that has value to the medical industry, the automotive industry, then we will license that technology. We're certainly not going to try and force ourselves into a corner and be that secretive organization, because I just don't think that will fit very well with our culture, and we'll get spat out the other end.
Carl, what about you? Because I certainly remember the secretive nature of these crazy climbing tubes in North Van when your company started, and the buzz that was surrounding what was coming, and then what was in their closed booth at Vegas. And
yeah, I kind of remember when our IP lawyers visited the factory, and it was a really hot day, and we actually had all of the roller doors open on the side of the factory, and you could actually see everybody working on all the garments, so you could actually see how everything was being made. And I think they were just horrified. But for us, so we have our own facility, and if it's really, really important to us and there's value in it, then we can afford to produce it here in Vancouver. And certainly in the past, that's how we've established a lot of technologies. Now we use 22 different factories all through Southeast Asia and in Central America. So we have varying degrees of partnerships with them. We have 3 factories with which we actually share intellectual property. And so those are partnerships which have been developed over long periods of time and through a sort of a vetting process of building successful business together first, and then sort of stepping up the level of information that's shared. And the way we work those partnerships is that in order to share proprietary information, we ask for a closed facility within their production plant. So we would ask to have 1, 2, or 3 sewing floors, which are closed to any other customers that they may have. And then in return for that, we guarantee the throughput of those facilities for the calendar year. So we guarantee them that we will have a constant flow of work going through those sewing lines 12 months at a time. And so that's kind of how we share that capability. To give you an idea, other contractors that we work with may have, we might only take 6 weeks of their production time, and then they'll be moving in another company's product. They may have 3 companies' products going through a sewing line at any one time. So with those companies that we share proprietary information, we take up 100% of their capacity in the facilities that are building our product. And that's kind of how we share, and we then have a commitment to sort of grow our business with them each year. And in that way, we try to make a valuable partnership for them and sort of work on a loyalty program that way.
great. Any other questions? Yes. Sorry, at the end there.
So you gave us a bunch of sort of speeds for turnaround and actual production, but you also said that that customer education was a challenge for you. So I'm wondering what your kind of speed of customer education is that you can do that you have in order to get these products out, and what are some of the challenges you find around that, as opposed to just the production side of it?
I guess I said it was a challenge, so I'll take that one. I think the biggest thing is finding is customer engagement. So how do you actually engage with the customer? How do you hold their attention? And how do you encourage them to actually drill down and take interest in what product they should buy? And from a design standpoint, one of the most frustrating things is I think 80% of purchases are made on color. So we put all of this effort in and make these tiny little bits, and we're really proud of them. And then at the end of the day, so much is bought on color. So how do we engage with customers? How do we interest them? How do we deliver the information to them in a way which is actually going to hold their attention and sort of make them dig to find the information that they need, and sort of go past just buying on sort of first impressions and color and so forth. I don't know, Tom, if you have.
And yeah, I wouldn't consider education a challenge. I think for us it's a strength. You know, the educators in our business, of which that's who you will experience when you go into our stores. We think they're the best in the world. We hire people that are highly educated and very, very capable, and we put them at the top of the list. You know, the place where we are based is called the Store Support Centre for a very good reason, is that the educator is number one because they are managing that conversation with the guest. We are there to support that very much.
Yeah, on our side, I would say, I mean, because most of our customers are online, we've made that a focus for our website, actually breaking out what's our store and what's kind of the educational portion of the site. So if you go to Indochino.com, there's a section which will teach you about suits and which will teach you about how shirts, custom shirts, should fit. And that has been very important, just around the perception when our customers receive a custom fitted suit or shirt. It does tend to be a little bit tighter than what they're used to. And so having kind of a reference to go back to has been very important.
Great. Another question? Oh, sorry. Didn't even.
One of the main things that was said, that it is a challenge to find skilled talent here within the local community. From an educator point of view, I would like to ask two-part question. But the first one, which kind of technical skill or knowledge has been the main deficiency of the educators here locally that you think it should be addressed? And the second part is, if any of you would be interested in participating in a discussion within the private sector.
Okay. Tom, do you want to?
So I guess the answer to the second question is yes. Tell us a bit more. I think that we're looking for people that are able to connect to a guest, and whoever that guest might be when they walk through the door. So they need to be first and foremost a people person, which doesn't necessarily get taught. But then to be able to read between the lines of that individual. So on one hand, we're asking them to be physiologists. On the other hand, we're asking them to be raw materials developers. On the other hand, we're asking them to be lifestyle coaches. So actually, it's quite broad. I don't see the educators as being required to be the most technical people in the business. Because we should make their job easier by not making it about technology. We're not in the business of creating solutions and then finding problems. We're trying to make elegant solutions that speak for themselves. And the educator then their job is to connect a product with a person and make that as positive an experience as possible.
Carl, did you have anything to speak to that?
I think for us, if we look at education shortfalls in terms of industry education or educating people to work in the industry, what we're seeing is we're looking for people who can realize their ideas. So I think in education at the moment, in design, there's a lot of focus on creativity, trend forecasting, and how do you build lust for the product. But what we're not finding in a lot of graduates is the ability to actually go through the process so that their ideas can be realized, and they can actually communicate what their ideas are. They understand the processes that are involved in building that product, and then understand the limitations or the challenges that they need to overcome to actually build that product. It's all well and good to say that you'd like to make a car that has one wheel, but if you don't have a concept about how that car is actually going to stand up, then your design is not particularly valuable. So it's finding people who can actually have the skill and the competence to actually be able to realize their ideas. And what we find at the moment is, for us, it's probably a 12 to 18-month investment in graduates to get them up to a point where they can actually contribute to putting product into the line. So, yeah.
Yeah.
There were a lot, when e-commerce started, there were a lot of attention-grabbing headlines about retail being dead. And myself working for an e-commerce only company, I'm curious, and this is probably mainly for Dennis, is there seems to be a shift in the trend where companies like Coastal Contacts, Indochino, they're doing what they call these pop-up stores. So I'm just curious as what was the motivation and what was the impetus for that to go backwards, I guess, in almost to go from e-commerce back to retail.
Yeah. I mean, I think for us, it's an extension. It's not really that they're separate. We started as an e-commerce only company, and really we saw what we're calling Traveling Tailor, which are pop-up shops, as kind of an extension of the experience. And we strive to bring the same kind of clean, customized experience that we have on the site to these pop-up events. It helps with there's a demographic of customer that does want to still kind of connect in person with the company, and that's a great way to kind of get them to meet us. It's usually our first-time buyers that come to these stores. It's a smooth transition from these pop-up shops to the online world. So actually, we put a lot of effort into actually having these Traveling Tailor events be completely technology-driven. So when our customers come through the doors, they're greeted by somebody holding an iPad. Their profile is instantly created in our system as they go through the measurement process. All of that's updated through an iPod Touch app that we developed. All the customizations are stored, and then as they actually leave the store, the vast majority of our customers have smartphones. They get an email saying your product's now in production, and here's what you ordered, and you're also in our system if you ever want to reorder. So for us, it's really been a very clean extension of the experience.
I think it also speaks to the blurring of channels, as I mentioned earlier before, that it's almost imperative to be in both channels now.
Do you have a sense of how many people then reorder online after the initial brick and mortar experience?
I mean, we don't share the numbers publicly, but it's been very positive. It's actually, yeah, we found that it's one of our best repeat customer acquisition channels are these events. And for us, there are events where we actually drive a large number of sales. So that's also one difference, I think, between a lot of pop-up shops can be viewed as marketing events. For us, we drive a lot of sales, and we go quite large. So we tend to take up a large retail space with 30 or 40 floor staff, and we drive sales for about a week for these events.
Thanks, Dennis. Any other questions? Yes, Tim.
So obviously, none of you guys are originally from Vancouver. I know you've come from all around the world.
I'm from Vancouver.
Are you really? I thought you were from Ontario. No. Anyways, but you went to Waterloo.
That's all right.
But don't take that as an insult.
Yeah.
So you came up from CBS as one of the heads of their e-commerce. Is that right?
I was in the music group. So,
the music group.
Yeah, director of technology for them.
And of course, Dr. Tom, you came from Speedo. And sitting here in Vancouver, it's really hard to take a look at, what is it about these companies that you guys could have worked anywhere in the world, but you chose to work here in Vancouver. What is it about the company? What's the special sauce? What's that unique thing that said, this is where I want to work, and why this company specifically is the ticket I want to punch to take me to the next level or exit?
Tom?
Why
are you here?
Why am I here? They made me an offer I couldn't refuse. I think there were two things that pulled me here. Definitely one was Vancouver, and the other was Lululemon. I'm not actually sure which came first. For me, there's an ecosystem of things that can be done in Vancouver that I don't think you can achieve in many places around the world. So, I was very much looking forward to enjoying that with my family and just getting out of the Midlands and living in Nottingham, which is, I think, one of the worst gun crime cities in the UK. And there's 30 million people in Canada, I believe, and there's 60 million people in the UK, and you can fit the UK into BC. So,
many times.
There's a lot of reasons to be thinking about, trying something else. Aside from that, Lululemon's uniquely marvelous and welcoming culture, I don't think you can find that anywhere else in the world. And I've certainly in this sector, I've worked with lots of sports brands, and it's about as good as I've found in terms of how much they invest in people and in their leadership and development, how much they care about the communities that they work in, how much they're willing to break everything at a moment's notice to start all over again, and living in possibility. So, you know, someone that wants to set up a new innovation team, where better to do it.
Thanks. Carl, what about yourself?
Oh, so, well, I came specifically to work for Arc'teryx. I sort of finished school, was climbing my way around the world and thinking about what I might want to do, and read an article about what was going on at Arc'teryx, and sort of thought that I might come to Vancouver and just try my luck and see if I could work my way in. I got drunk at a bar. I got a job in the shipping department after meeting someone at the bar, and then it was at a time when there was only 25 or 30 people in the company, and so it was possible in those days to go from the shipping department to sort of having a period helping out in the design department, and then drank my way into a permanent position in the design department. And then, so there was kind of like a way through, and I guess I was really fortunate to arrive at a time when the company was very small. And had just endless possibilities for people who were passionate about being involved. And I think now, when you look at sort of, I think I'm an N2 report, so that puts me sort of on the third level down in management. And I think if I look across, there's 6 different people at my level, and we all worked in the shipping department together 13 years ago. And so, you know, it was a company that just had a lot of energy about it, and you know, people could recognize that there was really special things going on, and it brought a lot of people who were passionate about the activity and had other talents and brought them together. So now I think we have someone who runs our production planning, logistics, the guy who's running all of our web services, the guy who runs our global warehousing, the girl who runs our production facility in Vancouver. We all work together. One of our primary IT programs, we all work together in shipping. And just, yeah, that's kind of why I came here.
Yeah, and I guess in my case, it was, I mean, coming home was part of it, definitely, but you know, Vancouver has really been, I've grown technology teams in California as well, and Vancouver's been fantastic as far as from on the software engineering side, but the partnerships with the universities, it's a small community, but very supportive. The investors as well, as us being more of a startup company, especially when I first moved up here, there's been a ton of support from the local community, and that's been really helpful in growing the company and also in acquiring talent.
Great. Well, I think that's it. I hope you learned something about the technologies behind the apparel industry, and I want to thank our panelists for sharing their thoughts and ideas with all of you. Thanks.
John, thanks again for doing this for us. Really appreciate the time, and also the panelists. Really thank you very much for joining us this evening and sharing your insight into the industry. So just a quick wrap up. I'd like to thank this. Oh yes, of course I just did that. I thank the speakers. And tonight we have been joined for some graduating students from Kwantlen Polytechnic University Fashion and Technology programs. Please take some time to see their portfolios. Also, just the lightning pictures. I know one is left, but if the lightning pictures, just stand up and be recognized just right now. And just there's some interesting things going on out in the lobby. Please connect with them and enjoy that. There's some really interesting things to know about doing the lightning pitch. Some schmuck named Brian Holmes from some startup called Hootsuite started the same way. He joined Lightning Pitch and said, "I've just developed this application, you got to see it." And look where he is now. So maybe $100 million or $1 billion later in valuation is where you're going to end up as well. We'd also like to take a moment to recognize the in-kind sponsors to the VEF, Playful Screen, who are going to be videotape, or they are videotape this event. I guess we don't do videotape anymore. It's hard to say that. Videotape. They've been videoing. They've been digitally recording our events, and that's going to be online for us to take a look at. So please take a look at our website, and you'll see some other social media feeds. Playful Screen is changing the broadcast spectrum to become your own broadcast media company. Using the solutions developed by Playful Screen, from web to cam to HD 1080p resolution, Playful Screen will enable any organization in sports, arts, and entertainment, education and government, or lobbyists to produce live events and archive these simultaneously. Your media seamlessly appears on your website, blog, Twitter, or Facebook feed. You can contact Dave McElroy and check in with him at Playful Screen. Dave, are you here today? There he is up there. Dave is right at the back, manning the camera. Please check in with him, and he's been doing a terrific job for us so far. We'd also like to thank all VEF members who have just joined us, and we encourage you to become a member with great events like tonight. It's super value for the money. VEF also offers corporate memberships, so please see our registration staff or Chris at the front desk on your way out, or just before you walk over to the bar and have a tipple. If you buy a sponsorship program, she might even buy you a drink. The VEF is a volunteer organization with a great deal of hard-working people, from the board of directors to the operations committee. We have many willing volunteers, but we're always welcoming more people to join us, either on the sponsorship committee or the marketing committee. You can contact myself or Chris at the door if you're interested in getting involved. That was an awful lot of stuff to say, and I'm standing between you and the bar. A little longer. Please, we have some snacks out front. Please, one more last warm round of applause for our panelists, and thank you very much for coming.